Claudia? 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 Claudia, the oven's beeping.
The oven's beeping?
Yes, ma'am.
They must be done. Thank you for turning that off.
You're welcome.
Hi, I'm Claudia Caniglio. I'm 40 years old. I'm a Reiki healer. If you don't know what a Reiki healer is, there's a chi that runs through the universe. Maybe you do yoga and you know the energy that runs through your chakras, or if you do karate, you know about the energy that runs through the universe. I can channel that energy through my hands, and I can heal people and make them feel better. Also, I recently wrote a novel, and it's in rewrites with my agent. It's about past life regression, which I know a little bit about because I took a seminar with Brian Weiss, and I'm a certified past life regression therapist. But neither one of those really put food on the table. And speaking of food, I really like cooking. My kitchen is covered in recipes. I started cooking with my mom as soon as I could reach the stove, and let's get to it. Today I'm going to make arancinis. I already have a couple done. I already made the sauce. It's a traditional Sicilian dish. I lived in Sicily for about 3 years in my 20s because I was in the Navy for 10 years. I was an air traffic controller, which everybody's always like, oh, that's so stressful, it's so stressful. And I always say, it's only stressful if you don't know what you're doing. But anyway, so I lived in Sicily, and all the cafes in the morning, the Sicilians, they don't eat like eggs and stuff like we do. They go grab either a small sandwich panini, I'm sure you know what a panini is, or an arancini, which is a little tiny rice ball that's teardrop shaped, and it's got meat and cheese on the inside, and it's really portable. So you see Sicilians walking around chewing on an arancini with a cappuccino in the other hand. I live in Salt Point, New York, which is about 70 miles north of New York City, and we've lived here for about 10 years. I have 2 small children, Valentino, who's 8, and Arrigo, who's 4, and a husband. And my husband and I both love cooking, and like I said, my mom taught me how to cook when I was tiny, and she watched Julia Child constantly, and I was always like, Mom, change the channel, but fortunately for me, she didn't. Fortunately for her, and for everybody that ever comes to my house, nobody changed the channel, and I can cook. I can cook pretty well, so let me show you how. The rice is over here. I already made it. It's white rice. I use organic because, like I said, I have 2 small children. Let me show you their pictures because they're sleeping. Otherwise, if I didn't have them asleep, they'd be camera hogs. This is Arrigo. He's 4, and this is Valentino. He's 8. They're the lights of my life. And anyway. So I use organic everything that I can, especially organic milk. I never touch regular milk. I use organic tomatoes and organic apples, and I used organic white rice in this case. I'm going to wash my hands because I'm going to touch the food. So in the rice is saffron, which gives it a really nice yellow color, some eggs to keep it together when you're making the balls, and some Parmesan cheese. I freshly grated the Parmesan in. So you take about ½ a cup of the rice. And you want to make sure the rice is cool before you do this. So I burnt myself the first time because I didn't have a recipe, and I just kind of winged it, which is kind of really how I cook a lot of times. I winged it the first time and it didn't dawn on me, oh, don't put the hot rice in your hands, Claude. And I did, and ow, it burned. So in the sauce, it's just a regular ragu. It's meat, some ground sirloin, some diced tomatoes, peas, which are key in Sicilian food. If you've never been to Sicily, Sicilians put peas in everything, in their sauce, on their pizza. It's a pretty important staple. And some red wine is in there, of course, garlic. Lots of garlic. Garlic's like my favorite spice. I also love saffron, and I would use it a lot more if it wasn't so expensive. There's saffron in the rice. So you take a little chunk of mozzarella, probably about ½ an inch, and you stick it in the middle. And then you take about another ½ a cup of white rice and put it on top. And then the fun begins. You get to mold it. A lot of people online, if you search arancini recipes online, they tell you to make them into rice balls. Well, I lived in Sicily, and they're not rice balls. They're shaped like the little teardrops. That way when they're sitting on display in the cafes, they don't roll around on the tray. So I'm a stickler about that. I don't know if you noticed my wall, like I said, I put recipes up. Those are all from my mom's cookbooks. My mom died in 2003, and right before she was living with us, right before she died, she thought I was crazy. I'm kind of an amateur interior decorator as well. I'm kind of really a jack of all arts. I make jewelry. But anyway, everybody always thinks I'm nuts when I say, I want to do XYZ, and then I do it, and they're like, oh my God, that's so cool. And it's kind of the same way with food, too. I come up with these wacky ideas and I do them, and people are like, you're nuts, I thought you were crazy when you were saying that, but then they taste it and they're like, hey, that wasn't bad. We have a couple of friends that are big game hunters, and one of my friends got a moose. So here it is, a nice little teardrop. See, it's nice and flat on the bottom, kind of looks like a booby. One of our friends got a moose, and we went camping. We took the moose. My dad's a gardener. My dad one summer grew this obscenely huge zucchini. So we took the zucchini and the moose meat and all of our spices, because when we go camping, we don't just take salt and pepper, we take half of our cupboards. And we brought all these spices, and I took the innards of, I held the zucchini, this giant zucchini. When I say giant, it's like this big. I know my hands are all covered in breadcrumbs, but it was like this big. I'm not exaggerating. I have pictures, I can prove it. My dad was really proud of it. I hold the zucchini, I fried up the moose meat with sage and cinnamon and brown rice and the diced insides of the zucchini, and we wrapped it in tin foil. We had to jam it down into the cooking ring. It was so big. And the people on the campsite next to us came over and said, what is that smell? Something smells so good. And it was so good that at the time my kids were 7 and 3, and they dogged it because it was yummy. Even they didn't care it was moose. So my grease is hot already. I got my little ball all shaped up nice. I'm going to drop him in the grease. Let him cook. Wash my hands real quick. I love cooking because cooking to me is love. My mom, food is important to everybody. I have a big thing with love. I like hearts, and I think that a way to a person's heart truly is, I mean, cliche, it's a cliche for a reason. You can get to anybody's heart if you cook really good food, and I just so happen to be able to do that. It doesn't, if I have a recipe, I can take that recipe and cook it. Now, 9 times out of 10, if I have a recipe and I'll cook it the first time true to the recipe, and as I'm sitting there eating it, because my husband's a really good cook too, my husband and I will discuss, well, what would we do different the next time? How can we change this up? Because life is too short. I know that you asked to see my specialty or what my signature dish is, and I can't say that I have a signature dish, because if I go to a potluck or I make food to take to somebody's house, or I take food anywhere, I don't like taking the same thing twice, because life is too short to keep eating the same thing over and over again. I mean, I know I make good arancinis, and I know I make excellent sauce and excellent fajitas, but I don't want to eat them every day the same. So I search the internet, I go through magazines and books. My mom collected cookbooks, and so I have all of her cookbooks, and I've acquired cookbooks over the years, and I go through them, and I'm always watching the Food Network, and I just think that food is a really interesting way to express my artistic ability, because then you get to eat it. It's edible art, and that's to me is really fun. My goal with my Reiki and my past life regression, also I do something called soul collage, which is a collage art where you express yourself on paper with pictures cut from magazines and stuff. It's very healing. And my goal, see, this is done, it's nice and brown. So what you do after you get it nice and brown, I have some in here, you want to crisp it up in the oil, and then you want to put it in the oven for 5 or 10 minutes so that mozzarella chunk melts, because you want it all nice and melty when you pull it apart. So I'm going to take these out. Is that right? That's hot. Probably shouldn't have done that. I'm gonna grab him out of the oil. My goal is to have like a healing center where people can come and heal themselves spiritually and mentally and physically and eat really, really good food. Now, I know there's a lot of places like that all over. As a matter of fact, the Omega Institute, if you've ever heard of it, it's just really, I mean, the Dalai Lama comes there, Deepak Chopra, all the big names in the New Age movement, which I'm definitely a New Age girl. You can tell by the crystals and everything. The Omega Institute, everything is vegetarian. Nothing against vegetarians, and I know that, you know, eating vegetarian is good for you, but I'm a clear carnivore. I like my meat. I have to have my sausage. I have to have I have to have a hamburger. I like turkey at Thanksgiving. Don't give me any tofurkey. So anyway, that's my goal. I want to have a place where people can come and heal themselves and be nourished with delicious food that's made with love, because like I said, I'm a love junkie. I'm a total, absolute love junkie. I'll show you what I mean in a second after I get these guys back in the oven so this cheese can melt. And after I'm done with this, I'm going to show you, my mom used to make a between course little light snack that I'm going to make. I'll leave these right here. I have a heart tattoo on my arm it's just really cool because it's full of gratitude symbols and heart. It looks like henna. Everybody's, and even old ladies, they walk up to me and they're like, oh, that is the coolest tattoo I've ever seen. This is my dining room. Like I said, I'm like an amateur decorator. I started design classes, and I was taking an interior design class, and the teacher kept asking me, why are you here? Why are you here? Because I have a great eye for color, a good eye for design. If I'm plating food, I know how to make it look good because I have that artistic talent already, and then I can just apply it to food. The other day I was watching the Food Network, and Ina Garten was on, and she was making this delicious meal, and in the midst of the meal she made an apple tatin, and I thought, oh, that looks so good. So I made it. This is what's left of it. My husband and my boys wrecked it a day and a half ago. It's almost gone, but I love baking. I make really good cheesecakes. People always ask me, make me a cheesecake, I'll buy it from you, and I can't. It's one of the reasons that I'm not really technically working is because I have a hard time charging for my healing. And I haven't gotten paid for the book yet. Obviously, it hasn't sold. Like I said, it's in rewrites. But my book is about love and how it transcends everything. And that's kind of really a theme to my life. I have hearts everywhere. People always tell me, like I said, I'm on Facebook and MySpace. I have a website, lovejars.com, because I came up with this notion of, well, I'm not the first person to come up with it, but I started, I guess, this new wave of it. I write little notes of love to people, and I stick them in these jars, and as I'm doing it, I Reiki it and pour as much love as I can into it. And when you open it up, you can kind of really feel the love. And, you know, it's a neat gift, and it's not expensive either. And I don't sell them or anything. I just teach people how to do them, and everybody's like, that's such a great idea. So I like hearts, and it's Christmas time, so if it's, you know, if you're Christian, Merry Christmas, and if you're Jewish, Happy Hanukkah, and Happy Solstice, which we celebrate everything. We have a menorah, we have a Christmas tree, we have pentacles everywhere. But this is my love wall. I'm pretty sure you can travel the entire face of the planet and not see something like this. This is a living piece of art. I have friends all over the world. There's hearts up here from Europe, from Norway, France, one from England. There's another one that's coming from Germany that somebody just recently said they're from California. I live in New York. I would say 80% of these are from people that I've never met, just interaction on the internet. So that's my heart wall. I have a thing for hearts. So if I can make food look like a heart, that's one of the reasons I kind of like arancinis too, is because they look like hearts, but I won't do it. I won't make them look like hearts because they're supposed to be teardrop shapes. So let's go back in the kitchen, and I'm going to make the orange salad that my mom made. I'm watching my husband walk backwards, trying not to trip. It's pretty funny. So like I said, I was in the Navy. I was an air traffic controller. That was awesome. It was awesome to be able to live in Europe, even though when I did it, all I'm doing is I had already peeled this orange. It's a navel orange because you don't want seeds in it. I got to live in Sicily, I got to live in Virginia Beach, I got to live in Florida, I got to live in Memphis, Tennessee. I got to meet a whole bunch of amazing people, which thankfully for Facebook, I get to actually interact with them again. So I'm just going to lay these down on a dish that has a place where liquid's not going to run off. Now ideally, once you make this, you want to stick it in the refrigerator for maybe an hour and a half so that the alcohol can soak into it. My mom used to make it with Sambuca. I'm not really a big fan of Sambuca. I like my amaretto, especially amaretto and orange juice, so this is like almost that. So you just take some amaretto and drizzle it over the oranges. Now we used to serve this, my mom would serve the oranges with Sambuca and I serve the oranges with amaretto between the pasta and the meat courses of a big Italian meal. That's my dad's Sicilian, so he was really happy when I went to the home country and got to see where his family came over, because I'm a second generation American, my dad's first generation. And some brown sugar on top. So like I said, you'd want to put this in the refrigerator for a while so that the brown sugar and the alcohol can soak into the oranges and make them all nice and yummy. You want put that on top. And then I do toasted hazelnuts on top of this because I'm a fan of incongruent flavors and tastes. I like salty sweets and things that you think don't match. So when the oranges are really cold and you have the sweet from the sugar mixed with the crunchy warm toasted hazelnuts, it's really yummy. It's like a party in your mouth. So that's that. And I'll just put this over here. My arancini should be ready. I'm going to take them out. So I want to learn how to cook like a pro. I want to be a master of that. I'm already a Reiki master, and my husband's closing the oven with his foot. I'm already a Reiki master. I already know how to control traffic. I went to college to be a computer programmer. I worked at IBM. I'm a really fast learner. I'm pretty entertaining, I think, and I'm just going to plate these up for you real fast. I made 5 arancinis because 5 is the number of nature. It's the number of elements in Chinese Feng Shui, and it's just a good number. It's also a number that means you're about to begin an adventure, and I kind of really hope that's what I'm getting ready to do. I hope I'm beginning an adventure. So I'm just tearing some basil here. Gonna plate that all around just to give it some color. I'll throw some sauce on here. It's gonna be hot. Put some of the ragu in the middle in case anybody wants to dip it. And that's arancinis. And hazelnut oranges with amaretto. So I hope I get to see you guys soon, and it's pretty cool. I'm a big numbers person. It's 11/11 as we're closing this, and I hope I get to see you soon, and that's it. Bye.